Welcome to our deep dive into the world of CIO priorities in the age of AI. It's 2025, the AI landscape is shifting rapidly, and our source for this deep dive digital transformation expert, Nishith Srivastava, has some really interesting insights on what CIOs should be focusing on right now. We're going to unpack his top 5 priorities for digital transformation, and but later we'll dig into 3 areas he thinks CIOs should be moving away from.
It's a fascinating time to be a CIO. AI is really shaking things up, creating challenges and opportunities in equal measure. Shrivastava's insights provide a great roadmap for navigating this new terrain.
So let's jump right in. His first priority is all about democratizing AI access and upskilling employees. It seems pretty straightforward. Everyone needs to be able to use AI effectively, but how can CIOs actually make that happen?
It's a multifaceted challenge. We're seeing more and more AI agents integrated into enterprise software. Some companies are even building their own AI agents. But simply having these tools available isn't enough. CIOs need to invest in upskilling programs that go beyond basic AI literacy. They need to help employees understand how to use AI strategically within their specific roles and departments.
That makes sense. There's a big difference between knowing what AI is and knowing how to actually use it to improve your work. What kind of upskilling programs are we talking about? Are there specific examples of successful approaches?
Absolutely. Shrivastava points to a few key areas. One is training focused on AI integration with existing workflows. For example, how can marketing teams use AI to personalize campaigns? How can sales teams use AI to qualify leads? It's about moving beyond the theoretical and getting hands-on with practical applications.
So really tailoring the training to the specific needs of different teams and departments. No more generic AI for beginners courses.
Exactly. And another important aspect is the development of AI fluency. This means understanding the capabilities and limitations of AI, being able to interpret AI-generated outputs, and even knowing how to give AI effective instructions. It's about becoming comfortable working alongside AI as a partner, not just seeing it as a tool.
Okay, I'm seeing the value in that. But this all sounds pretty resource intensive. How can CIOs justify these investments? How do they measure the return on investment for upskilling programs?
That's a crucial question. Ed Magoski, Chief Product and Technology Officer at Boomi, actually puts it quite eloquently. He says in 2025, businesses intentional with upskilling will maximize AI benefits with a competitive edge, while those who rush to incorporate AI's next big thing before their team is ready will be hindered in their efforts to innovate. The key here is intentionality. CIOs need to approach upskilling strategically, tying it directly to measurable business outcomes.
So it's not just about checking the AI training box. It's about making sure those training programs are actually translating into improved productivity, efficiency, and ultimately a stronger bottom line.
Precisely. And to do that, you need to track the impact of these programs. Are employees using the AI tools they've been trained on? Are those tools leading to tangible improvements in their work? It's about setting clear goals, measuring progress, and iterating based on the results.
That's a great segue into Srivastava's second priority, data and AI governance. I feel like we've been talking about data governance for years, but AI brings a whole new dimension to this challenge, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. Historically, CIOs have often struggled to get buy-in for data governance initiatives. It's been seen as a nice-to-have rather than a must-have. But with the rise of AI, that perception is changing rapidly.
Because AI is so data dependent. If your data is a mess, your AI is going to be a mess too.
Exactly. Srivastava emphasizes that data and AI governance need to be tightly integrated. It's not just about data security anymore, although that's still critically important. It's also about data quality, consistency, and accessibility.
Because if you're feeding AI inaccurate or incomplete data, the results are going to be unreliable, potentially even harmful.
Exactly. And it's not just about avoiding those AI disaster headlines we saw in 2024. It's about making sure AI is actually delivering value to the business. If your AI is generating insights based on bad data, those insights are worthless, potentially even misleading.
So what are some concrete steps CIOs can take to ensure they have robust data and AI governance in place?
There are a few key areas to focus on. First, establish clear data ownership and accountability. Who is responsible for ensuring data quality within each department? Who has the authority to access and use certain types of data? These roles and responsibilities need to be clearly defined.
So it's about creating a culture of data responsibility throughout the organization, not just relying on the IT department to clean up everyone else's mess.
Exactly. And then you need to implement data quality checks and validation processes. This could involve automated tools that scan for inconsistencies and errors, as well as manual review processes to ensure data accuracy.
And this is where AI can actually play a role, right? AI can help automate some of those data quality checks and make the process more efficient.
Absolutely. AI can be incredibly powerful for data cleansing, deduplication, and even predictive modeling to identify potential data quality issues before they become major problems.
It's almost like a virtuous cycle, using AI to improve data quality, which in turn leads to better AI outputs.
Precisely. And then there's the issue of data accessibility. Srivastava highlights the challenge of dark data, that vast amount of unstructured data that sits dormant within organizations. This data can be a goldmine for AI, but it needs to be unlocked and made accessible in a secure and compliant way.
I see. So it's not just about cleaning up the data you're already using. It's about finding ways to tap into those untapped data sources. And that's where things like data lakes and data fabrics come into play, right?
Exactly. These technologies provide a centralized repository for all types of data, making it easier to access and analyze for AI applications.
So it's a pretty complex challenge, but it sounds like there are also some exciting opportunities for CIOs to really leverage data and AI governance as a strategic advantage.
Absolutely. It's about shifting from a defensive mindset, protecting data from risks, to a more proactive mindset, using data to drive innovation and growth.
Okay, so we've covered upskilling and data governance. What's next on Srivastava's list of CIO priorities?
His third priority is focused on security, and specifically on the need for increased training in security, safety, and trust.
Security is always top of mind for CIOs, but AI is bringing some new and evolving threats to the forefront. What are we talking about here?
Well, think about those deepfake videos that started circulating a few years ago. They were pretty convincing even back then. Now imagine how much more sophisticated that technology has become.
I can only imagine. It's already difficult to tell what's real and what's fake online. With deepfakes, it's going to become even more challenging.
Exactly. Srivastava is saying that security training in 2025 needs to go beyond the traditional "don't click on suspicious links" messages. Employees need to be trained to critically evaluate information sources, to be skeptical of anything that seems too good to be true, and to be aware of the potential for manipulation using AI-generated content.
So it's about developing a more discerning eye, a more critical approach to information consumption.
Exactly. And it's not just about deepfakes. AI is also being used to create more sophisticated phishing attacks, social engineering scams, and even malware that can adapt and evolve to bypass traditional security measures.
So the bad guys are using AI too. And that means security professionals need to be using AI to fight back. What are we saying on that front?
There's a lot of exciting development happening in the area of AI-powered threat detection and response. AI can analyze vast amounts of data to identify patterns and anomalies that might indicate a security threat. It can help security teams prioritize alerts, automate incident response, and even predict future attacks.
So AI is becoming an essential tool for security professionals, not just a potential threat.
Yeah.
But all of this still comes back to the human element, right? You can have the best technology in the world, but if your employees aren't trained to use it effectively and to be vigilant against security threats, you're still vulnerable.
Absolutely. Srivastava emphasizes that security training needs to be ongoing and adaptive. It can't be a one-time event. Employees need to be kept up to date on the latest threats and techniques, and they need to be given the tools and resources to stay ahead of the curve.
And it's not just about external threats, is it? What about the risk of insider threats employees who might intentionally or unintentionally compromise security?
That's another critical area that Srivastava highlights. Insider threats can be particularly difficult to detect and prevent because they often involve individuals who already have legitimate access to sensitive data and systems.
So it's not just about building walls around your data, it's about making sure the people inside those walls are trustworthy and following proper security protocols. How can CIOs address that challenge?
There are a few key strategies. One is to implement strong access controls and least privilege principles, ensuring that employees only have access to the data and systems they need to do their jobs. Another is to establish clear policies and procedures for handling sensitive data and to provide regular training on those policies.
So it's about creating a culture of security awareness and accountability, making sure that everyone understands the importance of security and feels empowered to report potential issues.
Exactly. And it's also important to have monitoring and auditing systems in place to detect suspicious activity and to be able to investigate incidents quickly and thoroughly.
Okay, so we've covered upskilling, data governance, and security training. What's next on Srivastava's priority list for CIOs in 2025?
His fourth priority might seem a bit surprising given that we've been talking about it for years now: cloud migration.
Cloud migration has been a major trend for over a decade, but it sounds like there's still work to be done.
That's right. While many organizations have embraced cloud technology to some extent, Srivastava points out that there are still significant challenges to overcome. In fact, research indicates that 90% of organizations have faced challenges in their cloud adoption journey in the past year alone.
Wow, that's a pretty staggering statistic. What are some of the biggest obstacles organizations are facing?
There are a few key challenges that keep cropping up. One is security concerns. Organizations are understandably hesitant to entrust their sensitive data to a third-party cloud provider. Another is complexity. Migrating to the cloud often involves complex technical integration and data migration processes, which can be time-consuming and resource-intensive.
And let's not forget about cost. Cloud costs can be unpredictable and difficult to manage if you're not careful.
Absolutely. And then there's the issue of legacy systems. Many organizations are still running on legacy systems that are not compatible with cloud environments.
So it's not just about moving data to the cloud, it's about modernizing your entire IT infrastructure.
Exactly. And that's where Srivastava sees a big opportunity for CIOs in 2025. He predicts an acceleration of cloud migration driven by the need for improved security, better governance, greater scalability, and the desire to finally shed those clunky legacy systems.
So it sounds like cloud migration is moving beyond the early adopter phase and becoming a core part of most organizations' IT strategy.
Precisely. And it's not just about lift and shift migrations anymore. Organizations are looking to leverage cloud-native technologies like containers, serverless computing, and AI platforms to drive innovation and agility.
Okay, so it's about being strategic and intentional in your approach to cloud migration, not just moving things to the cloud for the sake of it.
Exactly. And it's about making sure that your cloud strategy is aligned with your overall business goals and objectives.
So we've covered upskilling, data governance, security training, and cloud migration. What's the fifth and final priority that Srivastava highlights for CIOs in 2025?
The fifth priority is data-driven security and privacy. This is really about taking a holistic approach to security, leveraging data and AI to create a more proactive and resilient security posture.
That sounds like a pretty broad topic. Can you break it down into some key components?
Absolutely. Srivastava identifies three key pillars of data-driven security and privacy: zero trust security, data privacy compliance, and AI-powered threat detection.
Okay, let's start with zero trust security. What does that mean exactly?
Zero trust is a security model that assumes that no user or device should be trusted implicitly, regardless of whether they are inside or outside the network perimeter. It's about verifying every access request, every transaction, every interaction.
So it's about moving away from that traditional castle and moat security model where you trust everyone inside the castle, but no one outside.
Exactly. In today's world, where data is accessed from multiple devices and locations, that model is no longer effective. You need a more granular, dynamic approach to security, and that's what Zero Trust provides.
So it's about constantly validating and authenticating users and devices. What are some of the key technologies that enable zero trust security?
There are a few key technologies that play a crucial role. One is multi-factor authentication, which requires users to provide multiple forms of identification to prove their identity. Another is identity and access management, IAM, which provides centralized control over user access to data and systems. And then there's network segmentation, which divides your network into smaller, more isolated segments, limiting the damage that can be done if one segment is compromised.
So it's about layering these different technologies to create a more secure and resilient environment.
Exactly. And it's about constantly monitoring and adapting your security posture based on the evolving threat landscape.
That's a great segue into the second pillar of data-driven security and privacy: data privacy compliance. With regulations like GDPR and CCPA, organizations have to be incredibly careful about how they collect, store, and use personal data.
Absolutely. And it's not just about avoiding fines and penalties. It's about building trust with your customers, and protecting their privacy. Data breaches can have a devastating impact on an organization's reputation.
So how can CIOs ensure that their organizations are compliant with these ever-evolving data privacy regulations?
It starts with understanding the regulations themselves. CIOs need to stay informed about the latest requirements and make sure their data governance policies and practices are up to date.
And it's not just about having policies in place, it's about making sure those policies are actually followed right.
Exactly. You need to have clear procedures for data handling, consent management, and data subject requests, and you need to train your employees on these procedures.
So data privacy compliance becomes part of the overall security culture we were talking about earlier.
Precisely. And it's not just about protecting data at rest, it's about protecting data in transit and in use. You need to implement appropriate security measures throughout the entire data lifecycle.
So it's a pretty comprehensive approach to data privacy. What about the third pillar, AI-powered threat detection? We touched on this earlier in the context of security training, but it sounds like it plays a bigger role in data-driven security and privacy.
It absolutely does. AI is becoming an essential tool for security teams to detect and respond to increasingly sophisticated cyber threats.
We talked about AI's ability to analyze vast amounts of data to identify patterns and anomalies. How is that applied specifically in the context of threat detection?
AI can analyze log files, network traffic user behavior, and even social media feeds to identify indicators of compromise. It can detect malware phishing attempts, brute force attacks, and other malicious activity that might go unnoticed by traditional security systems.
So AI is acting like an extra set of eyes, constantly scanning for potential threats.
Exactly. And it's not just about detecting threats, it's about responding to them quickly and effectively. AI can help automate incident response processes, reducing the time it takes to contain and remediate a security incident.
That's crucial because time is of the essence when it comes to security breaches.
Absolutely. The faster you can detect and respond to a threat, the less damage it can do.
So it sounds like AI is becoming an indispensable tool for achieving data-driven security and privacy.
It certainly is. And as AI technology continues to evolve, we can expect to see even more innovative applications in the field of cybersecurity.
Okay, so we've covered Srivastava's top 5 priorities for CIOs in 2025. Upskilling employees, data and AI governance, security training, cloud migration, and data-driven security and privacy. It's a pretty comprehensive list covering a lot of ground.
It is indeed. And it's important to note that these priorities are all interconnected. They're not isolated silos. You can't really address one without considering the others.
That makes sense. They're all part of building a modern, resilient, and secure IT infrastructure for the age of AI. But it's not just about what to prioritize, is it? It's also about what to deprioritize, where to shift focus away from. And that's what we'll be diving into next.
Exactly. Staying ahead of the curve means not only embracing new priorities, but also recognizing when it's time to let go of old ones.
So far, we've talked about what CIOs should be focusing more on in this AI-driven world. Now, let's flip the script. What does digital transformation expert Nishith Srivastava suggest CIOs should start moving away from?
It's an interesting shift in thinking, isn't it? Sometimes progress means recognizing when to let go. Srivastava highlights 3 areas where CIOs might want to ease up their focus in 2025.
Okay, I'm all ears. Where does he suggest we pump the brakes?
The first one might surprise you. He calls it half-baked AI innovations. Remember all that hype about AI being the solution to every problem?
Oh, absolutely. It felt like every company was scrambling to launch AI projects, whether they really needed them or not.
Exactly. But it seems like the honeymoon phase is waning. Gartner is even predicting that AI is about to enter what they call the trough of disillusionment.
Interesting. So are we saying that AI isn't all it's cracked up to be?
Not necessarily. The potential is still there, but the key takeaway here is that 2025 will be the year when AI needs to prove its worth. CIOs need to move beyond the experimental phase and focus on real-world applications that deliver tangible value.
So no more AI for AI's sake.
Yeah.
It's about being more strategic and discerning. Are there any indicators that this shift is already happening?
Deloitte's research found that nearly 70% of companies have only moved 30% or fewer of their generative AI experiments into production. And a Wharton report indicates that 57% of companies are anticipating slower AI spending increases this year.
That definitely suggests a more cautious approach. So if CIOs are pulling back from those half-baked innovations, where should they be focusing their AI efforts?
Srivastava talks about self-funding AI-led business reinvention. It's about finding those areas where AI can drive real efficiency and cost savings, which can then be reinvested in further innovation and transformation.
I like that. It's about using AI to generate its own momentum. What are some concrete examples of how this might work in practice?
One example is reducing technical debt. Instead of just throwing more resources at legacy systems, CIOs can use AI to identify and automate tasks that are currently being done manually. This frees up developers to focus on more strategic initiatives.
So AI isn't replacing jobs. It's changing the nature of those jobs, making them more efficient and strategic.
Exactly. Another example is adopting AI ops, using AI to manage and optimize IT operations. This can include things like automating routine tasks, proactively identifying and resolving issues, and even predicting future outages.
And all of this leads to cost savings, which can then be reinvested in further AI initiatives, like a self-perpetuating cycle of improvement.
Precisely. And it's crucial to track those capabilities to make sure that the savings generated by AI are actually being used to fund those further innovations. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels.
Right, you need to have a clear plan and track your progress. So it's not about abandoning AI altogether, it's about being more strategic and discerning in how you apply it. What's the second area where Srivastava suggests CIOs should ease up their focus?
The second area is migrations and automations for the sake of it. It's
Gotcha.
about moving beyond the just because mentality and really focusing on whether these initiatives are truly delivering value.
I feel like we've all seen those projects where companies jump on the latest tech trend without really thinking about why. It's like we need to migrate to the cloud because everyone else is doing it.
Exactly. And Shahriz is cautioning against that kind of thinking. He's saying that AI is actually helping to shift the focus away from mere technological upgrades toward actual operational transformation.
Okay, so it's not just about moving stuff to the cloud or automating tasks for the sake of it. It's about using technology to fundamentally change how your business operates and delivers value.
Precisely. And he uses the example of cloud migration. While moving to the cloud offers many advantages, it doesn't always reduce costs. In fact, it can sometimes lead to cost increases if it's not done strategically.
Yeah, I've heard those horror stories about cloud costs spiraling out of control. So how can CIOs make sure their cloud migration strategy is actually cost-effective?
It starts with careful planning and analysis. You need to understand your current workload characteristics, your future needs, and the different cloud pricing models. Sometimes it might actually be cheaper to run certain workloads on premises.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all solution. You need to choose the right cloud environment and the right pricing model for your specific needs.
Exactly. And it's important to consider things like data egress fees, which can add up quickly if you're moving large amounts of data in and out of the cloud.
Okay, so cloud migration is a great example of where a just because approach can backfire.
Yeah.
What about automation? Where do you see that going wrong?
It's similar to cloud migration. Automating tasks can be incredibly beneficial, but only if it's done thoughtfully and strategically.
Hmm.
Sometimes organizations automate processes that are already inefficient or that don't really need to be automated.
So you're just automating inefficiency, which doesn't really save you any time or money in the long run.
Exactly. And sometimes automation can even introduce new problems like errors or delays if it's not implemented properly.
So it's not about automating everything, it's about automating the right things. And how do you know what the right things are?
It comes back to understanding your business processes and identifying those areas where automation can truly add value. Is the process repetitive? Is it prone to errors? Can it be streamlined and made more efficient? These are the questions you need to ask.
And it's not just about automating tasks, it's about automating decision-making. That's where AI really comes into play.
Absolutely. AI can be used to automate complex decision-making processes, freeing up human employees to focus on more strategic tasks. But again, it's about doing this strategically and thoughtfully, not just automating for the sake of it.
Okay, so we've talked about half-baked AI innovations and migrations and automations for the sake of it. What's the third area where Srivastava suggests CIOs should shift their focus?
This one might be the most challenging of all. He cautions against expecting employees to be proactive with AI learning.
That's interesting. We talked earlier about the importance of upskilling employees for the age of AI, so I'm curious to hear what he means by this.
It's not about discouraging employees from learning about AI. It's about recognizing that the rapid pace of AI development is putting a lot of pressure on employees to keep up.
That's true. It feels like there's a new AI breakthrough every week. It can be overwhelming to stay on top of it all.
Exactly. And expecting employees to be proactive in this environment without providing adequate support and resources is a recipe for frustration and burnout.
So it's not enough to just say, here's some AI training, go learn it.
Yeah.
You need to create a more supportive and structured approach to AI learning.
Precisely. Srivastava emphasizes that underinvesting in change management is a fundamental mistake in digital transformation. And this is especially true when it comes to AI.
So it's about creating a culture of continuous learning where experimentation and improvement are encouraged and where employees feel supported in their efforts to learn about AI.
Exactly. It's about providing the resources, the time, and the mentorship that employees need to be successful in this new AI-driven world.
And it's about recognizing that AI learning is a journey, not a destination. There's always going to be something new to learn.
Absolutely. And the organizations that are going to thrive in the age of AI are those that can create a culture where learning is embraced and celebrated.
I love that idea. It's about shifting from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture.
That's a great way to put it. And I think it ties in nicely with the other areas we've discussed. It's about being strategic, thoughtful, and intentional in your approach to AI. And it's about creating an environment where everyone feels empowered to learn, grow, and contribute.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into CIO priorities for 2025.
We've explored the 5 areas where digital transformation expert Nishith Shrivastava suggests CIOs should be increasing their focus.
Things like upskilling employees to be fluent in AI, implementing robust data and AI governance frameworks, and prioritizing data-driven security and privacy.
And we've also discussed the 3 areas where he recommends a shift in focus, moving away from those just because initiatives, and really honing in on AI projects that deliver tangible value.
It's a lot to take in,
Yeah,
but I think it paints a really clear picture of how the role of the CIO is evolving in this rapidly changing tech landscape.
absolutely. The CIO of 2025 isn't just a technology expert. They're a strategic leader, a change agent, and a champion for innovation.
I'm curious, from all of this, what stands out to you as the most significant shift or the most critical takeaway for CIOs to grasp?
For me, it's the emphasis on intentionality. It's no longer enough to simply react to technological advancements. CIOs need to be proactive in shaping their organization's digital future.
I see that thread running through all of Srivastava's recommendations. Whether it's upskilling employees or migrating to the cloud, it's about being strategic and deliberate in your approach.
Exactly. It's about aligning your technology investments with your business goals and making sure that every initiative is driving tangible value.
And it's about recognizing that technology is only one piece of the puzzle. You need to have the right people, the right processes, and the right culture in place to truly succeed in the age of AI.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating an environment where learning is continuous, where innovation is encouraged, and where people feel empowered to embrace new ways of working.
It's almost like a shift from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture.
That's a brilliant way to put it. In a world where the pace of change is accelerating, the ability to learn and adapt is becoming the ultimate competitive advantage.
And I think that's a great takeaway for all of us, whether we're CIOs, tech enthusiasts, or just curious minds trying to navigate this ever-changing world.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep experimenting, and keep pushing the boundaries. The future belongs to those who are bold enough to embrace the unknown.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found these insights valuable and thought-provoking.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into CIO priorities for 2025.
We've explored the 5 areas where digital transformation expert Nishith Srivastava suggests CIOs should be increasing their focus.
Things like upskilling employees to be fluent in AI
Implementing robust data and AI governance frameworks.
and prioritizing data-driven security and privacy.
And we've also discussed the 3 areas where he recommends a shift in focus.
Moving away from those just because
And really honing in on AI projects that deliver tangible value.
yeah, it's a lot to take in,
Right.
but I think it paints a really clear picture of how the role of the CIO is evolving in this rapidly changing tech landscape.
Absolutely. The CIO of 2025 isn't just a technology expert.
Right.
They're a strategic leader, a change agent,
Mm.
and a champion for innovation.
I'm curious from all of this, what stands out to you as the most significant shift or the most critical takeaway for CIOs to grasp?
For me, it's the emphasis on intentionality. It's no longer enough to simply react to technological advancements. CIOs need to be proactive in shaping their organization's digital future.
I see that thread running through all of Srivastava's recommendations. Whether it's upskilling employees or migrating to the cloud,
Right.
it's about being strategic and deliberate in your approach.
Exactly. It's about aligning your technology investments with your business goals and making sure that every initiative is driving tangible value.
And it's about recognizing that technology is only one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
You need to have the right people, the right processes, and the right culture in place to truly succeed in the age of AI.
Couldn't agree more. It's about creating an environment where learning is continuous, where innovation is encouraged, and where people feel empowered to embrace new ways of working.
It's almost like a shift from a know-it-all culture to a learn-it-all culture.
That's a brilliant way to put it. In a world where the pace of change is accelerating,
Right.
the ability to learn and adapt is becoming the ultimate competitive advantage.
And I think that's a great takeaway for all of us,
Yeah.
whether we're CIOs, tech enthusiasts,
Right.
or just curious minds trying to navigate this ever-changing world.
Absolutely. Keep learning, keep experimenting,
Hmm.
and keep pushing the boundaries. The future belongs to those who are bold enough to embrace the unknown.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found these insights valuable and thought-provoking.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.